All right, Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar responding to her state's massive welfare fraud scandal, pinning the blame not on the criminals, but those working to protect the American people.
Dirty dog.
If there was a linkage in that the money that they had stolen going to terrorism, then that is a failure of the FBI and our court system in not figuring that out and basically charging them.
Host of My View, Laura Trump, joins us now. Laura, thank you so much for joining us. So what do you think about that explanation there? Ilhan Omar saying that if taxpayer money did in fact go to the al-Shabaab terrorist organization, it would be a failing on the part of the FBI for not figuring it out.
Yeah, she sounded super confident in that answer, didn't she, Carly? She could not figure out how she was going to convince people that that was the case, but she said it anyway. It's ridiculous. Of course, the only failure here is from the people who are in leadership positions in Minnesota who allowed this fraud scheme to happen. And I'm looking at Ilhan Omar and I'm looking at Tim Walz, and they really are in the crosshairs of this whole thing. And a lot of people are wondering how it is humanly possible that this was allowed to happen. And this thing is huge. You talk to the White House and they have said, look, this is probably so much bigger and far reaching than just Minnesota. We know $1 billion was stolen from the taxpayers there in Minnesota. The White House says it actually is probably just scratching the surface. That's just the tip of the iceberg. And, you have the Treasury saying we do have connections through millions of dollars they think was sent to Somalia, and that ultimately did end up in the hands of terrorists, as al-Shabaab terrorists. And so I think that's, of course, a ridiculous answer, but you're going to hear a lot more of that.
I do want to add that whether or not that money went to terrorist organizations, it was still defrauded. The cat's out the bag. Regardless or not that money went eventually to terrorist organizations, it was still defrauded from the federal government. And guess who was in order at that time? Tim Walz, former candidate for vice president. We should have figured this out a long time ago. And then we have senators in office that are from Somalia, and they're representing this. And instead of blaming the people that did it, let's blame the federal government for not catching it. That's from a senator, man. Y'all better watch out.